Women trust older men instantly. Here's why. The unspoken advantage. There is a quiet shift that happens the moment an older man enters the room. He doesn't speak louder. He doesn't try harder. He doesn't compete. And yet, attention bends toward him. Not because of looks, not because of status, but because of something far more dangerous. Psychological certainty. Most men think attraction is built through effort, talking more, trying more, proving more. But what women actually trust is not effort. It's stability under pressure. Older men have something younger. Men are still chasing. They've already failed, lost, learned, rebuilt. That creates a silent signal that says, I've seen chaos, and I didn't break. And the female mind picks up on this instantly. Not logically, not consciously, but instinctively. Because trust is not built on words. It's built on emotional safety. And emotional safety doesn't come from perfection. It comes from experience that survived reality. Here's the truth. Most men don't want to hear. Women don't trust potential. They trust proven emotional control. And older men carry that like a shadow. Not because they try to impress, but because they no longer need to. Why women feel safe without knowing why. Let's go deeper. When a woman meets a younger man, her mind asks, can he handle me? Her emotions, her mood shifts, her unpredictability. But when she meets an older man, the question changes. It becomes, he already can, doesn't he? And that assumption alone creates trust, because emotional safety is not about kindness. It's about containment, the ability to remain calm when things get chaotic. Most younger men fail here. They react too quickly. They get triggered too wisely. They try to fix, explain, impress. But older men, they've already learned something. Not everything needs a reaction. And that restraint is power. It signals, I'm not controlled by the moment. I don't chase approval. I don't lose myself in emotional storms. And this matters more than attraction itself. Because attraction pulls a woman in, but trust is what makes her stay. This is why many women say, I don't know why, but I just feel calm around him. That calm is not accidental. It's built through years of internal battles, loss, rejection, silence, loneliness, all the things that force a man to either break or become unshakable. And when he becomes unshakable, women feel it immediately. The power of non-neediness. Here's where most men completely lose. They think attraction is about being liked. So they try harder, talk more, text more, prove more. But every time a man tries to prove himself, he silently communicates one thing. I need your approval. And the moment that happens, trust disappears, because neediness creates pressure, and pressure destroys safety. Older men, however, don't operate from need, not because they're perfect, but because they've already learned something painful. Chasing doesn't work. They've experienced rejection enough times to stop fearing it. They've been ignored enough times to stop chasing attention, and that creates a dangerous shift. They no longer seek validation. They operate from self-containment. This is what women actually trust, not confidence, but independence from validation. Because when a man doesn't need anything from her, she can finally relax. There's no pressure to perform, no pressure to impress, no pressure to constantly validate him. And in that space, trust grows naturally. This is why older men don't chase, yet often get chased. Because when a man becomes emotionally self-sufficient, he becomes rare. And rare is what the mind automatically values. When someone is not trying to win you over, your brain starts trying to understand them, and that curiosity turns into attraction. He doesn't compete, and that confuses her. There's a subtle moment most men miss. A woman tests a man, not with words, but with energy. She might mention another guy. She might withdraw attention. She might act unpredictable. Not because she's playing games, but because she's asking one silent question. Will you break under pressure? Younger men almost always do. They get jealous. They overreact. They try to reclaim control. And in doing so, they fail the test. But older men, they don't compete. They don't react. They don't try to win her back. And that creates something powerful. Uncertainty. Because now she can't read him. He's not chasing. He's not reacting. He's not trying to prove dominance. And here's the paradox. The less he reacts, the more control he has. Because emotional control is dominance. When a man doesn't get pulled into emotional games, he signals something dangerous. I'm not here to fight for attention. I'm here by choice. And that flips the entire dynamic. Now she's the one observing him. Now she's the one wondering, why isn't he reacting like other men? And curiosity is the beginning of trust. Because unpredictability without chaos feels like depth. Experience creates invisible authority. Let's go deeper. Women don't just look at what a man says. They read what he doesn't say. His pauses, his tone, his reactions, or lack of them. And older men carry something younger men can't fake. Pattern recognition. They've seen the same behaviors before. The same tests. The same emotional cycles. The same dynamics. So they don't overanalyze. They don't overinvest. They don't overreact. And this creates an invisible signal. Nothing here is new to me. That energy feels like authority. Not loud authority. Not forced dominance. But quiet certainty. And the human mind naturally trusts certainty over intensity. Because intensity feels exciting. But certainty feels safe. This is why many women feel drawn to older men without understanding why. It's not about age. It's about emotional predictability, combined with control. They don't swing between extremes. They don't get overly excited, then distant. They remain centered. And that consistency creates something rare, reliability. And reliability is the foundation of trust. People don't feel safe with unpredictability. They feel safe with patterns they can rely on. Older men become that pattern. He has nothing to prove. And that changes everything. Here's the final layer most men never understand. Attraction is not about what you show. It's about what you don't need to show. Younger men are still building identity. So they try to display it. Status, money, confidence, social proof. But older men, they've already built, lost, and rebuilt. So they don't perform. They don't advertise. They don't seek validation. And that creates a powerful psychological shift. He's not trying to impress me. So what does he know that I don't? This is where trust deepens into intrigue. The human mind is wired this way. What is not chasing attention must already have value. And value without display feels authentic. That authenticity is rare. Rare things are trusted more than common ones. This is why older men often appear more grounded, more calm, more intentional. Not because they're better, but because they've already gone through the phase of needing to prove themselves. And once a man exits that phase, he becomes internally validated. Internal validation creates true emotional stability. The kind that doesn't collapse under pressure. The kind that doesn't seek approval. The kind that doesn't chase. And that's what women trust. Not perfection. Not dominance. Not even confidence. But a man who is unmoved, self-contained, and already whole. Why this trust can turn into obsession. And how power dynamics quietly shift in these relationships. Trust turns into attraction. Then into obsession. Here's where it gets deeper and a little uncomfortable. Trust is not the end. It's the beginning. Because once a woman feels safe with a man, her mind stops defending and starts opening. That's when attraction intensifies. Most men try to create attraction first, but that's unstable. Because attraction without safety creates anxiety. But older men reverse the order. They create emotional safety first, and then attraction grows inside that safety. What grows slowly tends to grow stronger. This is how trust turns into something more dangerous. Emotional attachment. Because now she's not just attracted. She's invested. She starts thinking about him more. Not because he's chasing her, but because he's not. She starts analyzing his behavior, his silence, his distance, his calmness. The less he seeks her attention, the more she seeks his. This is where curiosity becomes fixation. The human mind doesn't chase what is obvious. It chases what feels slightly out of reach, but possible. And older men naturally sit in that space. Not unavailable, not distant, but not easily controlled. That balance creates tension, and tension creates emotional depth. He doesn't get lost in her, and that creates power. Now let's talk about power. Most men lose themselves in women. They prioritize her mood, her attention, her approval, and slowly they disappear. But older men, they've already made that mistake. They've already given too much, chased too hard, lost themselves in someone else, and they learned something the hard way. Losing yourself kills attraction. So now, they don't. They stay grounded in their own world, their own mission, their own rhythm, their own priorities. And this creates something rare, emotional independence, which leads to a powerful dynamic. He wants her, but doesn't need her. And that difference is everything. Because when a man doesn't depend on a woman emotionally, she feels free. Free from pressure, free from responsibility, free from managing his emotions. And in that freedom, she chooses him more. This is the paradox. The less a man needs a woman, the safer she feels choosing him. Because she's not being pulled. She's not being pressured. She's not being controlled. She's simply responding to his presence. The final truth. It's not age. It's psychology. Let's strip away the illusion. This isn't about age. Not really. It's about what age usually creates. Experience. Emotional control. Detachment from validation. Clarity. These are not older man traits. They are developed traits, and any man can build them. But most don't. Because it requires pain, rejection, failure, loneliness, self-confidence. The very things most men avoid are the exact things that create trust. Because they force a man to face himself, to stabilize himself, to build identity without external approval. And once that happens, everything changes. He stops chasing. He stops reacting. He stops needing. And starts choosing. And that's the energy women trust instantly. Not because it's impressive, but because it's rare. Because in a world full of men seeking validation, the one who doesn't stands out without trying. So the real question isn't, why do women trust older men? The real question is, why do so few men ever become the man that doesn't need to be trusted? Because his presence already proves it. And once you understand that, you stop trying to be attractive and start becoming unshakable.